5 years ago, Toyota took its Venza nameplate off the market. Now, for the 2021 model year, the Venza is back, much different than it was before. The old car-based platform is gone, replaced by a new SUV, similar in size to the RAV4. It is much more luxurious than a RAV4. I mean, just look at it. We're gonna show you what the 2021 Toyota Venza is all about. Let's start on the exterior, where the Venza shares a lot in common with the RAV4, but you wouldn't tell by looking at it. This thing is much more luxurious and sleek looking. I'm glad Toyota has sent me the highest limited trim in this gorgeous shade of red. This is definitely the color I'd go for if I was opting for a Venza. Up front here, we have this really almost beak-like grille that juts out. This is actually about the same wheelbase as the RAV4. It's longer mainly due to this front end and in the back. A lot of people expected this new Venza to basically be a Highlander, but with 2 rows, similar to what Honda did with the Pilot and the Passport. But no, this actually shares a lot more in common with the RAV4 than the Highlander. Here around the side, we've got 19-inch wheels as part of our limited grade tester. We've also got our hybrid badge up here. Of course, this time around, the Venza is all hybrid all the time. You can't get a V6 engine or any other drivetrain besides the hybrid, which is shared in common with the RAV4. Now, around back, this thing looks nothing like a RAV4, and we get to the most interesting styling element of this car, which is this wraparound single-piece taillight design. It kind of looks like a flying saucer. I'm not sure how else to describe it. There's so many different waves to this back end. It's really cool looking, looks like nothing else on the road. I see a little bit of Jaguar F-Pace in the design here, and that's not exactly an insult for Toyota's styling department. I think that the looks might be a little controversial on the Venza, which is also known as the Harrier in other markets. Let me know in the comment sections whether or not you think this looks better or you prefer the rugged looks of the RAV4. Now that we've gone and checked out the radical exterior styling of the Venza, time to hop inside, where this car definitely takes a major step towards luxury compared to the RAV4 on which it is based. We have the highest limited trim level, which means we have all of the available options. You do have to opt for 1 or 2 things on top of the limited to get the Venza as we have it equipped, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you everything that we have here, starting with the centerpiece. That is the 12.3-inch touchscreen display. This is taken directly out of the Highlander, where it looked great. This is definitely the best that Toyota has to offer in terms of touchscreen. This side of it looks very similar to what you'd get on one of Toyota's smaller screens, but over here we have like a split side of the display. I have it showing my battery information, where the power is coming from, either the engine or the battery. If I come over here, I can have my music. I can also have my seat climate controls. Those are also down here because we have the limited, we have heated and ventilated leather seats. That's quite nice. Or I could have my regular climate with my fan speed, although those controls are right here, so I don't really get the point of having them over on there. Just like on the Highlander, it's a bit of a reach to get to them, but Toyota thought of that. If I push this button here, boom, now this part of the split screen is over here. And if the passenger wants to make those adjustments, I can go ahead and send it back. This system also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility, but unfortunately, there's no way to make it full widescreen. It only takes up this portion. Just like Toyota's regular map as well, I can go ahead and push the map button. As you can see, there's no way to get rid of this side of the screen. I've asked Toyota if they plan on making that an option. I guess they're still thinking about it because it was the same as this on the Highlander. Now below it, you may have seen I pushed the map button, but it's not actually a button. These are touch sensitive controls. I really hate these. The Prius Prime had these as well. So you kind of have to just put your finger on it and you get a beep letting you know that you've hit the button, but you don't get anything physical like a vibration or anything like that. I dislike these controls. I don't know what was wrong with buttons. So I'm not very happy that Toyota did that, especially when it comes to the volume. You have to kind of just keep going tap, 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 tap on the volume. And since Toyota doesn't do a volume scroller on the steering wheel either. Even on the wheel, you have to hold up or down. I really like to just grab a knob, quickly turn it down if I need to have a conversation with somebody, and quickly turn it up if I hear a good song. This is not ideal, Toyota. Please go back to the drawing board and give me a volume knob. Learn from other manufacturers here. In terms of material quality, we definitely have a huge step up in terms of that leather all throughout the cabin. The upper dashboard here is leather. This is all soft touch materials. I really feel like this could have been badged as a Lexus. That's how nice the interior is. There's only one or two things that are dead giveaways that this is a Toyota. The fonts are a little bit different. This steering wheel is obviously ripped straight from a RAV4 or a Camry. So is this shift knob. It's the exact same one you get in a RAV4. But sitting in here, I really start to question whether or not why anybody in 2020 should buy a Lexus NX, which is based on the old RAV4. Seriously, if you're shopping for an NX, stop what you're doing right now and just go into a Toyota dealership and get a Venza. Now, the other thing that's a little bit weird here is this storage compartment here. So the RAV4 has a ton of storage in front of the shifter over here by the driver and over here on the passenger side, but the Venza has a little bit less. Toyota has this sort of hourglass shape, so you can see it kind of pinches in here and then goes out wide. It's very deep. There is a wireless charger in there on our limited trim, but I feel like some of the space was wasted a little bit. For example, we have our electronic parking brake and our stop hold function here. We have our drive modes, normal, eco, sport. I didn't really find much use for those out on the road. We have our EV mode, which only runs at like 20 miles an hour for like a mile or two. Basically, when you're getting into your neighborhood, you push that and it could run on the battery very slowly for just a little bit. I feel like this is just a little bit of wasted space and it could have been utilized a little better. And when my phone is in there on the wireless charger, it is quite far away, so you can't really get quick and easy access to it. Now down here we have our cup holders with our heated and ventilated seat controls, and I wanted to show you something really interesting here on this little cubby area. These little hockey puck things, Toyota thought if you don't have such a tall drink, you stick that in the cup holder and that will stop your can or smaller item from sinking too far into the cup holder. Now, there are two other things I wanted to mention, one of which is available on the RAV4, and that is the digital camera mirror. So the rear visibility of this car is nowhere near as good as the RAV4 because of that coupe-like roofline, but with the camera mirror, basically eliminates it. Now I have no obstructions and I can see out of the Venza with zero difficulties. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is the Star Gaze roof. Now this is a all new feature for Toyota. This is the first Toyota model to ever get it. Basically what it is a panoramic glass roof, and if I push it, it becomes opaque. Push it again, it becomes clear. So right now I have it in its clear mode. I have a lot of sun coming in. I can push it and now it becomes opaque and it blocks out a lot of the sun, so I can still have the light from the sun, but it won't burn me, it won't make me sweat. It's a really nice feature, and if you want even more shade, you can close it all together and have a much darker cabin. Now the one disadvantage of this is that the glass piece does not open and there's no way to get a regular sunroof on the Venza. Now Toyota hasn't given me the exact specs for how big the back seat is, but having been in the RAV4 many times, I would say that this is about the exact same size. The Venza's extra length doesn't come back here, it only comes at the front and the back because of the styling, but I do have two USB charging ports and air vents back here, so it is a nice place to sit in the back seat of the Venza. Fashion is not always practical, and this lesson rings true with the Venza. We've got 36.3 cubic feet of storage back here. Toyota has managed to keep the cargo hold relatively large by keeping the batteries underneath the floor. We've got a little bit of extra down here, and we also have a spare tire, so that is nice as well.
but this is not as capacious as the RAV4 on which it's based. That's because of this coupe-like roofline. You're just not going to be able to get as tall of objects into the Venza. Now you can fold down the second row to get more space. Toyota hasn't quoted me a number on how much storage space that opens up to, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess and say that the RAV4 is a little bit more spacious with all the seats folded. So you are going to be trading off some practicality for style with the Venza.
It's always a fun experience to be driving a car that isn't quite out on the market yet, because Toyota has given me an early opportunity to drive this 2021 Venza. But a little bit of that shine is taken away by the fact that this car feels very familiar to me. That's because it shares a platform and a powertrain with the RAV4 Hybrid, a car that I have driven recently. That means we have the same engine, a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with 3 electric motors combining to produce 219 horsepower. That's the same number that you get in the RAV4 Hybrid. And just like the RAV4 Hybrid, the only way that that power goes out to the wheels is all 4 wheels through an electronic all-wheel drive system that sends power from the electric motors to the rear wheels. Now 0 to 60 in this vehicle hasn't been quoted by Toyota yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and safely assume that it'll be close to what the RAV4 Hybrid does, which is around 7 seconds, which means when I go ahead and put my foot down, we get that typical CVT type ratio groan. It's smooth, it's quick enough, it's not a powerhouse. I will say that I'm slightly disappointed that Toyota didn't give this vehicle one of 2 drivetrains. Either the hybrid drivetrain out of the larger Highlander, which produces 243 horsepower. Now that drivetrain is also set to appear in the upcoming 2021 Sienna, or the plug-in hybrid drivetrain out of the RAV4 Prime, which I just recently drove. That baby produces a whopping 301 horsepower. So that thing is a massive powerhouse, so much quicker than a regular RAV4 Hybrid. And I feel like for as premium and as nice as the Venza is, they should have given it a little bit dose of extra power. I can kind of understand why they didn't though. I'm sure that they did their market research and they found that their customers probably preferred fuel economy to power. Perhaps they'll do a more powerful version of this Venza later on, maybe for the 2022 or 2023 model years. But as it sits, the fuel economy in the Venza is great, and I'm sure that's why Toyota settled on using this particular version of the drivetrain. We don't have the official EPA rated numbers yet, but Toyota says that the LE trim, that's the base one with the smallest wheels, will get around 40 mpg average. This particular one that we have here with the bigger wheels, the glass roof, the heavier stuff, should get 40 mpg in the city, 37 on the highway, and 39 combined. Those numbers are excellent. They are better than what you would get in the Sienna or the Highlander, which are larger cars, but I'd like to see maybe Toyota do a more powerful version of this car later down the line. Now, the thing that is better on the Venza versus the RAV4 Hybrid is the sound insulation. Now, this is something that they fixed on the RAV4 Prime compared to the RAV4 Hybrid. When I drove that car, they added a lot more sound insulation. They've done a lot of clever things under the floor with the glass, things like that. Basically, all you need to know is it results in a much quieter cabin. I just took the Venza on the highway, and at 70 to 80 miles an hour, it definitely feels quieter to me than a regular RAV4. Not quite as quiet as a Lexus, but remember, this car does not have a Lexus badge. And that's about it for the Venza. It's very quiet, it's very comfortable. As with all Toyotas, their safety sense technology comes standard, which means even on a lower trim Venza, you're going to be getting things like lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, and all of that good stuff. So I think this is a very compelling package, and if you want something that's more comfortable and quieter than a RAV4, but you're not ready to step up to the Lexus, this is an interesting option. So
So that was the 2021 Toyota Venza. Pricing starts at just over 32 grand for the LE trim. Stepping up to the XLE trim is going to bump that up to 36 grand, with this fully loaded limited trim going up to about 40 grand. Now, we have had a couple of options on our limited trim, bringing the price up to about $42,000. Now, on the low end, the Venza is about $4,000 more than the equivalent RAV4 hybrid, but here on the high end, it's only about $2,000 more expensive. So if you're already in the market for a fully loaded RAV4 hybrid, I think it might be worth it to step up to the Venza. If you want a vehicle that looks less rugged and more luxurious, is a little bit quieter on the inside, and you're okay having a little bit less cargo capacity, I think the Venza is an interesting new addition to Toyota's lineup. And if you want more information on the Toyota Venza, be sure to click the link in the description below for more information over on CarBuzz.com. And as always, if you liked this video, be sure to leave a like and hit the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. We have more just like it, including reviews of the RAV4 Hybrid and the RAV4 Prime. Hope you've enjoyed this video. See you next time.